Oh my gosh, y'all. I swear I just saw the scariest thing back there in that house. Things were moving, and then there was this really creepy possessed doll. I swear it was moving. It was this seriously spooky rad doll. I mean, I can't describe it. It looked pretty scary. It. Let me know if you see it. Okay, you're gonna need some scissors, and then the other supplies are here. You have 2 pieces of felt, 2 black buttons, 1 embroidery needle, and black and red embroidery floss, a brown permanent marker, and also the stuffing. Okay, so for the template, I used what looks like a gingerbread man. I just found it on the internet and stretched it out. Now you'll trace that template with your marker and cut it out. Okay, so you're gonna lay your cutout on top of the unused felt, and we're going to thread up our embroidery needle with the black embroidery floss. Yes, I use a lot of it. I just am lazy and I don't want to start and stop again. All right. And if you were wondering, that's how you use the embroidery needle threader. Okay. So on one end, you're going to want to tie a really good strong knot, at least tie it over twice, 3 times to be sure. And then the other end is just going to hang loose like a tail. So you can start at any part of the doll. I start at the head, and you're going to make a basic running or basting stitch that just goes as simple in and out with your needle, and it makes sort of a dotted line. And just watch me. Here it is all finished. Hey, there we go. Now cut this out. There you go. Now you've got your outer husk. So you're going to pull it apart at the belly there and use your scissors. Cut only one side of the felt. Don't cut the other piece of felt on the other side. Now flip that inside out and push with your fingers to make sure that you're pushing it out all the way, and you can see that lovely seam around the outside. It adds a really cool effect. Now stuff the arms, legs, and head first and body last. It just makes it easier. And use your scissors, just a blade of your scissors, and go over it to create a surface fuzz that's going to make it look old and worn. Now it's going to be old, worn, and dirty once we add this brown marker to it. I'm not doing the best job, so I take my scissors and I scrape over the marked parts, and look, it spreads it out. You can also take your brown marker, color in dark along the seams or any holes in it to add some depth and just show that dirt's collected there. Okay, now we're going to sew it shut. You can use any color thread or whatever type of stitch you use. I like to the cross stitch. I just think it has a cool look to it when you have it all sewn shut. Now it's time for us to personalize it. And I'll show you some of the things that I did. Yep, we're talking about burns. Those eyes there, they've just got some hot glue. You can also use black fabric paint to make it look like melted buttons. And then we've got those burns on that doll. We're going to repeat those on this doll here. So you need the marker and either a heat gun or a hair dryer. You want to make sure that it's not going to be too hot and melt it. So you just test with your hand like I did there. And that tells you how close you should have your heat source to the doll itself. And you can see there it's melting it, hardening it a little bit, creating a few little holes. Then you just go over those little holes with a black permanent marker. Go darkest around the holes, because obviously if this was a really real burn, that's probably where it got burnt the hottest. And fade out with lighter black as you go out. You can also use black fabric paint. It'll still have that crusty melted feel, but without the heat. So basically just make sure there's some on the edge and spread it out. You can put a glob on there like I did, or you could just do little marks with just a tiny bit of the paint at the tip of your glue bottle, of your paint bottle, excuse me. Severed limbs, cut off as many as you like. I've got the best job in the world that I get to say sentences like that. All right, and it's just pretty straightforward. You cut whatever limb off that you want to cut off. You could do legs, arms, all of it. And yeah, it takes some pretty good sharp scissors once you've already sewn it. But yeah, you can cut off the limbs. First thing you want to do though is stitch shut the body of the doll and make sure you don't lose all that stuffing. Again, you can do it poorly. You could have little pieces of stuffing sticking out like I do there. That's cool. Remember, make it look not so great and it's going to look better. And I'm going to take it a step further here. I am showing off the fact that the limb was removed by making it look kind of bloody with my markers here. And there it is. Now you could choose to leave the leg off, but I'm going to sew mine back on because I just like that look of the floppy arm that got detached and poorly put back on. So same thing with the other. I use the marker to color it up a little bit and make it look more like a wound. And then I do really long, exaggerated stitches here. Just, you want to really show how it was poorly done, simply done. It could just fall apart at any moment. Or maybe the evil spirits inside will get out. I don't know. So there you have it. See what I meant? The long stitches. Now we're going to sew on the eyes. The eyes, there's so many ways to do them. The easiest one is the button eye. If you want to do it like Coraline, you'd want to use black thread because you can't see thread holding her eyes on. But I use red because I like to make the little X that, you know, kind of looks like they're dead in cartoons. Sorry. I always go a little dark, don't I? Okay, now for the other eye, I'm just going to do a simple red X. So I'm going to go through a few times with the embroidery thread just so you can see the X really well and the lack of the button eye. You'll sew through each line a few times like that, see? And I'm going to add little extra signs of wear by snipping off the individual strands of the floss because the floss is made up of 6 strands. So you don't, if you just get one strand out and cut it, it's not going to hurt the doll. Plus, it makes it look more old, more worn. And I add brown marker as I always do. Oh, you can make eyes like that by sewing them, and the little knots at the end look like little eyelashes. So here's the mouth. This is going to be my first one I ever made. You might see on the posters. It's a long, spooky mouth. It's way too big. Almost a smile, but I don't know. You be the judge. So I'm just doing some back stitches here, starting way too far on one end, going way too far on the other end, way long than any real mouth should be. See, that's already looking kind of spooky. So now you're going to make those other stitches like you're sewing someone's mouth shut. And they don't have to be uniform. Make them different lengths, different widths apart. The worse you do, the better it will look. I'm going to say that a lot today. See, and there we go. Tie it off in a knot at the end. Now the cotton mouth. This is really cool. So you actually cut a big slit in its face. I don't recommend doing it the non-sewing way. I recommend doing it like this. You see on this doll, it's not the mouth that I'm looking at. It's this big cut on its face where it's open. You can do that to make the mouth, and it will look amazing. So let me show you how to do guts next. There's 2 ways. The no sewing version, it looks really good, I gotta say. It's hot glue. You just kind of let it, you know, pile up, and then you paint it red. And this way that I'm going to show you how to do, it uses the red embroidery floss stuffed into the cavity of the belly cut there. So just get one long length, wad it up, and then stuff it in there, get it between the stitches that you already made before. And you can either use the black and make it look like it's the stitches still trying to hold it in, or you could use the red and make it look invisible. Just there's all the guts there. And as you are sewing it down to the sides there, putting through the loops on the sides, see, there you go. Put it through those loops and then put it through the fabric and pull it tight. As you're doing that, though, you want to keep rearranging it to making sure it looks the way you want it to look when it's all said and done. And of course, yep, more brown marker to make it look old and worn. So bloody cuts, these are a little bit different than the other cuts we've been doing. You can do these without sewing at all, just using the markers. So use the brown markers first, that creates the depth, and you draw the initial cuts on. I like to do the 3 parallel ones that kind of look like something slashed through it, like Wolverine or or maybe a werewolf. See, then I go in with the red over top of the brown. That already looks pretty good and bloody. And then with the black, you just keep it thin, and you make like the slit going down the middle. Just make sure that it's vibrant enough that you can see it. You can be done with this because that still looks pretty great, or you can take it up a notch and make little slits in each of the cuts and pull out a little bit of the stuffing. And yes, we're coloring it brown again. Surprise, everyone. Now we can make these look a little more three-dimensional by adding this red. It's just going to be long stitches across, just like we did before with the eyes, only these are even longer because it's a big long slash on its back. And you can put those anywhere. It doesn't have to be the back. It's just I can make them extra exaggerated and show you how to do that here. So there's the red. Surprise again! More brown marker on top of the red thread. Yes! Now just make sure that you pull through that little bit of stuffing that we already pulled out. You want to see that because that makes it look even more like it got slashed open and it's coming apart. See, so there it is side by side. More simple ones versus the more three-dimensional. They all look great. You can do it whichever way you want. Just, yeah, make sure you can see all the work that you did there, pulling out the stuffing. So here's one that I did before. I did all 3 scratches just like I did with that last one with the embroidery thread. So that's the finished product. Oh, the 2-headed one, yes. It's pretty simple, really. I mean, you just take the doll that you made, cut the head in half down to where the neck would be, and then round them and sew them shut. The hair is pretty simple too. I mean, get a good knot, sew your stitch through, just make a long loop and tie that knot really tight again, and do as many as you like and cut those knots open, and you'll have hair. I really liked the way it looks with the little bow tie on there too. It adds a nice touch. So that's how I did it. Let's see, do we have any more questions here? Oh no, that's all. So here's just a rundown of the dolls that I have made. All the different things that you can do. Feel free to pause it and zoom in. That's it. Bye everybody. See you next time. You love it, you love it, my body, my body never